Well, I would say it's kind of modernizing, but it's also innovative. So we have a challenge in rural Alaska, Bush, Alaska, with lack of infrastructure there as far as Terra for broadband. So it's, we had a lot of the T1s that are doing satellite for backhaul. So like our West Coast, there's no road systems to those areas, and yet we have state services there. So we've worked on a solution of getting technology in place that's actually giving them better broadband through just a regular internet pipe rather than going through the T1 circuits. And so we've reduced the cost immensely there with a lot better service. So, for example, we were paying about $68,000 per megabit per second out there annually. We've dropped that to just $400 per, and that money now, instead of buying us only about 14 or 15 total, we're over 400 megabit per second bandwidth for those rural communities. So it was it was something we did, piloted with other agencies, worked together, did a complete pilot test, made sure it was secure, and rolled it out. So customers out there are really excited about their newfound, ability to get work done. So I would say that was probably one of the ones that we're happiest about from a technology standpoint. Yeah, that would probably be one of the biggest accomplishments. There's been several things that we've done. Some of the other questions that I saw on the list would segue into, but we were able to reduce costs in other areas. So a lot of what we started was trying to be more effective and efficient. That's been kind of a big theme for us. We started this initiative for the solution for broadband in rural Alaska, and at the same time we started looking at reducing costs for our core contract, which is our wide area network circuits, voice. So we have all, VoIP phone system for about 18,000 state workers and contractors. We also, all of the video conferencing. So our core contract, we took it out to bid on something called a best value. And we're able to break it up into bundles and had multiple bidders, and we're able to reduce our costs once again, getting more performance. So not just saying we're going to spend less, but we're spending less and getting more for it. And also some value-added technology that's really helped. So we're rolling that out. That's been a big accomplishment as well. So the challenges we're facing, I'd say the first one is those two projects I was telling you about. It was almost like we had a crystal ball because we started those last year about this time, and everyone knows what happened this last fall. Oil revenues dropped. The state of Alaska, a big part of our state government budget comes from oil revenue. So we were facing a $3.5 billion deficit, which now we're challenged to try and figure out how to help do that. So technology's really become a key player. And we already had a couple of cases already started before the oil revenue dropped, showing that we can cut costs while still bringing value and adding performance. So I think the big challenge is financial, the first one. How do you continue to do more with less? And it's hard because then in those kind of economies, you don't always get to have the capital dollar to invest in things that would be considered like transformational in your portfolio, right? So those are some of the challenges. We're also a state that's been federated as far as IT goes. There's been a legislative intent to consolidate more of those things that we can commoditize around for services. That's always a challenge. There's how do you work with smart state IT agency people that are afraid of the idea of consolidation in any shape or form? To do it collaboratively, we have a commissioner, Commissioner Fisher, who's I think really got a balanced perspective of how to kind of share this vision of how we get there, leaving things into agencies that belong there, but yet finding those commodities. And so I think some of the things I'd like to pull out of here is how do we better those states that have done consolidation, what lessons have they learned? How have they met those challenges? And so I think that's some of the things I'd like to take home out of here is those financial challenges are huge, and then, looking at how we can do better to face those. We're going to be doing consolidation. There's going to be a lot of things changing, moving around, and lessons learned from states on what to do and what not to do, right? So I think that's what I would look for here. Well, so because of my prior statement about our budget shortfall, most of the time our money right now, what we're looking at is just run the business, survive, get a few years, our Governor Walker is looking at, changing the size of the footprint of state government by about 25% over 3 years. So that's a shaky time. Obviously, when oil revenue's high, then our budget's built off of that instead of maybe having a sustainable budget. So he's been a visionary. That being said, we're not going to have capital dollars to invest. We're not going to have a lot of the grow the business, transform the business kind of funds available. So we're going to have to look at how do we take what we're spending today, reduce it, and then find ways to use technology to, invest. But I'll tell you about sensors. So because of our remoteness, we have a state Alaska land mobile radio system, which is the push-to-talk for the first responders. And those towers that have the equipment for that are in some crazy remote places, some of them up on hillsides, cliffs, in just crazy weather. So Alaska, we've got some pictures of those with just frost ice all over them from where the moisture from the ocean blows in on them and then freezes. And so to get a crew to those, you have to send helicopters, and sometimes it's not feasible to send a helicopter. So we put sensors in those and are able to monitor those remotely now from headquarters, so that they can tell, when someone's in there, generators, batteries, all the things that keep those QBs running for the gear for the radio systems. And this is life and safety stuff. So we're using sensors in that way. There's been a lot of development in some custom developed software that helps them monitor that. Also, we have a lights out data center. So we've consolidated some of the IT infrastructure into a data center that we can monitor remotely, the racks, the environmentals, a lot of the performance of things, and be more proactive where you're not having to have staff sitting in a data center monitoring stuff. It's all, you can do it from your mobile device. So those are some things that we have been able to accomplish with our limited budget. Well, so cybersecurity is obviously a big thing for all states. The state of Alaska, and I know Sarah Palin got some flack from the press about being close to Russia. It is kind of a figure of speech to say you can see it from our house, but you literally can see Russia from Alaska if you get in the right location. Where Alaska is positionally in the Arctic, and our role in the Arctic, there's a lot of exploration. The NTIA has been very focused on the Arctic, putting reports to the White House last December. I was involved with that. FCC Chairman Wheeler has been in Alaska, went up to the Arctic. So it's wide open. There is no border patrol. There's nothing up there. And we have, foreign ships now. They're looking at probably putting in a deep sea harbor. They say it could be maybe the next Panama Canal. So from a security perspective, that's huge. We have to really figure out how we're going to communicate in the Arctic, how we're going to secure that in terms physically and also for cyber. We're looking at being connected to, in maybe the next 5 years, one of the first ever global fiber rings that connects Tokyo, Japan over to Europe, to London, and comes down through Alaska. So we're going to have to really make sure that we're up on cyber. Recently we had Blue Cross, Aetna, one of the ones that got breached in healthcare, which affected a lot of Alaskans, and our governor got involved in saying, hey, we're going to look at cybersecurity from that perspective. We're also, because of that, all the interagencies that have to get together for a cybersecurity event. So the defense departments through veterans and those, DMVA, our Department of Military Veterans Affairs. Also, the different, agencies like Homeland Security and the FBI and all, how would we work together if there was a cyber event? And so because of our location and, that, it's top of mind. So we're getting ready to launch a security summit as well to kind of help us get more, focused on security as a whole, holistically.